There we go. Good morning, good morning. My name is Kyle. This is AI with Kyle. We're going to be covering the latest news from the world of artificial intelligence. And there's a fair amount going on today, especially with Trump visiting the UK. There's been a very large amount of investment that has been announced into the United Kingdom in particular, which I'm going to cover. I'm also going to be talking about OpenAI's new guidelines that they've released about teen safety, freedom, and privacy. Guidelines that are going to annoy people from both directions, and we're going to cover what they've announced and why people don't seem very happy. And I'm going to be talking about Fiverr and how they seem to be cutting a lot of their workforce and going back to so-called startup mode and replacing their staff with artificial intelligence. Is it anything to do with the fact that their shares have dropped 40% in the last few months? Maybe, but we will have an investigation and see whether it looks like it's actually AI or just a CEO covering his ass with the excuse of AI. So we have a couple of things that we're going to be going through. I'm also going to be answering questions from the live audience. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat, and in between the new segments I will come back to them. And all of these videos can be found on YouTube, nicely tidied up, cleaned up for you, so you can find exactly what you need. Interestingly, the YouTube right now is popping off. I just had a video go viral. I'll pull it up for you so we can get a check. It's at 100 and something thousand views. Gosh, 123,000. So the YouTube is kicking off, which is very exciting. Hopefully we will start to see a lot of significant growth there over the next few weeks. Cool. So let's jump straight in, and I want to talk about something called OpenAI Grove. So this was actually announced a few days ago. I only heard about it yesterday, so I wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to do it first because this is time sensitive, and if you want to apply to it, there isn't much time left. So OpenAI Grove is a program for individuals early in their company building journey. So if you are building something using artificial intelligence, this is basically an accelerator, a program that you can join with OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, and they're going to help you with the building. So today, this was last week, we are announcing the OpenAI Grove, a new program for technical talent at the very start of their company building journey. The Grove is not a startup accelerator or traditional program. Sorry, I misspoke. Lovable Ship did this recently. They had something that was basically an accelerator, but they started by saying this is not an accelerator. It's like, okay, what is it then? It looks like OpenAI doing the same thing. So it's not a startup accelerator or traditional program. Instead, it offers pre-idea individuals. Pre-idea, okay. So people have no idea what they're doing. That's fine. Deeply curious about building an AI, a dense talent network co-building with OpenAI researchers and resources designed to accelerate your journey. Sounds like an accelerator, but fine. I won't quibble. As participants explore early concepts, they will receive counsel from the OpenAI team and community with peers in OpenAI Grove. The program is a starting point for a long-term network. Awesome. It will begin with 5 weeks of content and programming hosted in the OpenAI San Francisco HQ, including in-person workshops. And yes, they fly you there if you don't live in San Francisco, so this is cool. Weekly office hours and mentoring from OpenAI technical leaders. In addition to technical support and community, participants will also have the opportunity to get hands-on with new OpenAI tools and models prior to general availability. Following the program, participants will be able to explore raising capital or pursue another avenue internally or externally to OpenAI. Cool. So the first Grove cohort will consist of approximately 15 participants. So it's a small group. We recommend individuals from all backgrounds, disciplines, and experience levels apply. To apply, please submit the form below by September the 24th, 2025. So you've got 7 days, if this sounds interesting to you, to put together an application. Application deadline's 24th. The program dates will be October the 20th through to November the 21st. They should plan for the required in-person sessions during the first and the last week. So around October 20th and at the end of November, you will be flown out to San Francisco, or if you're there already, nice and easy. And you should plan for an additional 4 to 6 hours of work each week in between, etc., etc. Time commitments, 4 to 6 hours a week. Program benefits, I mean, that's fairly obvious. Is the program in person? The first and the last week of the program will take place in San Francisco. We will cover travel costs for these weeks. Other weeks will be completed asynchronously, so you get on with it in your own time. Entry form is relatively simple. You're putting in your details, where you're from, what stage company you're at, what sector, what are you building, what have you built previously, what do you hope to gain, and is there anything else you'd like us to know. So this sounds like a really cool opportunity if you've been thinking about building with artificial intelligence, and even if you haven't really done very much, this sounds like this is going to be appropriate. I'm not really sure what they're looking for. I don't know how they're going to choose. They don't really talk about their metrics here, because you can be pre-idea, but then it does ask in the application below, what have you built previously, and what stage company are you at? So pre-idea, inception, and pre-seed. I don't know if this sounds interesting to you and you have the time. Definitely put in an application. I will probably put one in, honestly. I mean, why not? It'd be cool. And yeah, you'll get flown over to San Francisco to meet the OpenAI team and to build something cool. So go for it. It is at, well, if you Google OpenAI Grove, it should pop up. Otherwise, it's in the OpenAI blog. I wanted to bring this up because you've only got a week to apply, and I haven't seen that many people talking about it, which is probably good if you want to apply, because that might mean there's less competition. Give it a shot. OpenAI Grove, now open and closing in 1 week's time, and they will fly you over. You will build with the OpenAI team. Sounds very cool. Just going to pop through some questions. As always, everything is going to be available on the YouTube. I always say this. It's going to be available on YouTube. Just search my username, I am Kyle Balmer, and you'll be able to find everything there. We have just crossed 4,000 subscribers there, so we are growing. We're getting about 200 subscribers a day now, which is really exciting. So curious about your take on the notion of the capacity for influencing the geometry of universal embeddings. I don't know enough about that, I'm afraid. It sounds fascinating, but that is not my area of expertise. But so I'd love to hear what you think about it or why it's interesting. But I'd have to do some research into that, because that is not something I'm familiar with. But it sounds very cool. So we had Codex drop 2 days ago. ChatGPT released a new, not a model, but a new tweak on GPT-5, which made GPT-5 better at coding and agentic tasks in particular. I tried it out. It's good. I've heard from people who use a lot of this stuff that it is good. It seems to be a very well-tuned model for agentic coding in particular. Claude immediately pushed back. So Codex is really it's Claude Code and Codex. Codex by OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT. They're the two in contention here. And we see this again and again and again in AI in general. People will use ChatGPT, they'll be like, oh, we love this new model. And then you see after a few months, people are like, oh, it got stupid, it's rubbish now. And then Claude will come out with a new model, and everyone's like, oh my God, I use Claude for everything. I'm cancelling my ChatGPT. ChatGPT is dead, RIP. And then they'll use Claude for a few months, and then we get to a point where, again, it's like, oh, Claude's got stupid. Why is Claude so stupid? It used to be much better. And then boom, ChatGPT comes out with a new model, and we swing back the other way. This happens every 2 or 3 months. And it happens with the general models, and it happens with the coding models. So we've been going back and forth between Claude Code and the new GPT Codex and the Codex model. That's been the recent swinging, and it will continue, and we will continue to do this again and again and again. So GPT-5 Codex came out 2 days ago. Claude have shot back. They haven't released a new model. There is talk about a Sonnet 4.5 coming soon, but it's not ready, obviously, yet. So Claude have put out some updates in Claude Code. So output styles and learning modes, so new ways to learn in Claude Code. So it will help you to learn how to code whilst you are coding. So that's really cool. So especially if you are somebody who's getting into vibe coding and you don't have a solid base in actually what's happening, you can learn as you are building, which is, I think, one of the most exciting things about vibe coding. Multi-directory support, so you can now open multiple directories and see them all visibly at the top. That's kind of a UI improvement. Looks nice. Sub agents, So you can now have specialized experts, multiple agents running as sub-agents. So it's like managing a team rather than collaborating one-on-one, and all these agents will go off, do different things, and then come back. You can merge. Background tasks. Now this is a big one. You can have tasks running in the background. Automated security reviews. I'm surprised they didn't add this before. This is a bit like in Lovable. If you've been watching my live streams over the last couple of weeks, my build in public, there is a security audit that it runs, and it always checks if you've got a huge security issue. I assume the Claude Code security review is going to be even more comprehensive than that, which if that's the case, that's fantastic, because we need this. We need it to constantly be checking. Context command, I'm not quite sure what that is. I'd have to look into that. Custom tools and hooks, etc, etc, etc. So they've released a slew of new improvements. These have been over the last, a lot of these are from the last couple of weeks, so these aren't brand new. So these are not improvements they've just added, but they're basically doing a roundup post saying, hey, by the way, over the last month or so, we've added quite a lot of stuff, so you should come back to Claude Code. So this is damage control. This is looking at GPT-5 Codex, the new model from OpenAI, and thinking, ooh, let's get something out to remind people that Claude Code is still very good, which it is. So these two are going to continue to battle. OpenAI, ChatGPT with Codex, and Claude with Claude Code. Sorry, Anthropic with Claude Code. And good. I want them to keep fighting, because the more they fight, the better these tools get for us, the users. Recently joined a team where I'm the only non-Indian. Any advice? No, not really. That sounds fine. I would chat to them. If language is an issue, I'm sure they speak English, so I don't think it really matters. What are the specific problems? I'm assuming it's a technical team, because a lot of technical teams are Indian and Chinese now, because they have very good engineering programs and extremely high levels of technical competency. Scrolling through. Where are you from? I'm from London, from the UK. Are you Australian? No, I am from London. Cool, I'm gonna hop on over to a lot of news that's been coming in over the last few days. So Trump is currently here in the UK. I think he's visiting the King. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, we have it live on the BBC. Prince William and Kate to greet Trump at Windsor Castle for a state visit. So he's come over. I think it's unusual to make multiple state visits. There's something there's a big deal about it. I don't really follow that. What I have been following is there has been a huge amount of AI investment announced for the UK. So Microsoft, Nvidia, and other tech giants plan over $40 billion of new AI investment in the UK. In yesterday's live, we talked about Google, and Google have announced $5 billion worth of investment, including a new data center. And it looks like Microsoft and Nvidia are also putting cash in as well. So Microsoft are putting in $30 billion, so 6 times as much as Google. And that's going to be over the next 3 years, and that includes 15.5 billion in additional capital commitments. Building probably going to be data centers and infrastructure. Other tech companies, including Nvidia, Google, and OpenAI, are also ramping up their AI investments in the UK as President Donald Trump embarks on his state visit this week. So there is not an accident in the timing of this. On Wednesday, Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer are expected to sign a new deal to collaborate on AI, quantum computer, and nuclear technologies. So that will be today if that happens, and it sounds like it's moving ahead. So Microsoft said on yesterday, that it plans to invest $30 billion in the UK by 2028 as the company builds out its artificial intelligence infrastructure. The investment includes 15.5 billion in capital expansion and 15.1 billion in its UK operations, so into the Microsoft branches in the UK. The Compute said it will enable it to build the UK's largest supercomputer with more than 23,000 advanced GPUs, graphical processing units, in partnership with Nscale, a British cloud computing firm. Cool. So it looks like Nvidia, Google, OpenAI, AI, and Salesforce are investing a lot, and the combined investment is over $40 billion. But it sounds like $30 billion of that is coming from Microsoft. So it's primarily a Microsoft investment here, and then 10 billion from the others. We know 5 billion of that is coming from Google. The spending commitments come as President Donald Trump embarks on a state visit to Britain. So yes, this is not accidental timing. This is a reminder, a warning. I'm sure there's a number of different diplomatic levers that are being pulled here. Trump arrived in the UK Tuesday evening. People are already being arrested for the protests. I think some people projected images of Trump and Epstein onto the side of Windsor Castle. Huge images, and I think 4 people got arrested for it. Set to be greeted at Windsor Castle on Wednesday, so today, by King Charles and Queen Camilla, and he's meeting Keir Starmer, etc. So, yeah, I imagine this is all going to be tied up with the digital tax as well. So a lot of the investment will be pouring in, but they'll want some kind of commitment to reduce their tax burden, because this has been an argument the tech companies have been making and trying to get reductions in those taxes over the last few years in the UK. So I imagine there are going to be strings tied to this, and they're probably using Trump as well to force through some agreements. However, it is exciting to see money being put into the country, and this is what I've been saying for the last few months. Our AI, so in the UK, I'm in the UK, our AI initiatives so far have been lackluster because there just isn't money. You need money behind these things if you want to actually be a contender. So you can put out as many pronouncements and commitments to becoming an AI first nation, but if you are putting a few £1 million behind it, a couple of $1 million, nothing is going to happen, because this now operates in the billions. So the fact that there are $40 billion coming into the UK being invested will at least allow the UK to maybe step up to the table. Of course, it's American companies, it's American money, so it's just a subsidiary of that, but at least it puts us on the map, maybe, in terms of research and in terms of development. It's still very, very small compared to how much is being invested in China and the USA, though, so we have to remember that. But I'm not going to complain. So Microsoft boss is saying a $30 billion investment should rapidly boost the UK economy. I mean, it kind of depends how much of that money gets paid, or how much of that stays in the UK, how much of it is going to make it back in taxes as well, because I think this is going to be used to force concessions on those taxes on digital companies. But I saw some numbers being thrown around. Here we are, digital service tax. So Mr. Nadella, so the head of Microsoft, was speaking exclusively to BBC News as Donald Trump arrived in the UK on a 3-day visit. The UK and US have signed a tech prosperity deal as part of the visit, which aims at strengthening ties on AI, quantum computing, and nuclear power. Technology Secretary Liz Kendall told the BBC the deal did not include guarantees over scrapping a tax for big tech or on copyrights for AI companies. Okay, so there's a deal in place, but it does not include concessions on the tax. The digital service tax, which is a 2% levy, raises about 800 million a year, mainly from US tech companies, was previously said to be part of the trade discussions, but it is not part of the new partnership that's being pushed through. She also said no guarantees were made to AI companies on copyright, a major issue for the UK's creative sector, which has expressed concern its work is being used by AI companies without permission. It is. There's no two ways around that. It is being used. Okay, so money is coming in. At the moment, it looks like there are no strings attached in terms of the digital services tax. I wouldn't be that surprised if we hear that digital service tax gets in some way reduced or removed or offset in some way moving forward after this kind of investment, especially if they want more investment. I'm sure it's going to become part of the negotiation. Well, it's already part of the negotiations, but I don't think we're going to be able to hold that, and I think that will be scrapped in the near future. I would not be surprised. Cool. So good. Money's coming in. Hopefully it. Oh dear. I don't think my microphone was plugged in. There we go. I should be on the microphone now. Money's money. So we'll see what happens with it and what the conditions and how this changes moving forward. But it's only happening in real time right now. So I think my microphone was having problems. I think I'm gonna go ahead and block you. Every single comment you've said has been about people's race. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take you out of here. When your first comment is complaining about the Indian people in your team, that's it's not a good start. Bye. There we go. Oh, thank you, Nick. Yeah, the microphone's in now. So the problem was before. Oh, I haven't done any of my tech setup. I need to plug this in too. Where is it? There we go. Much better. Sorry to the editor. You're going to have to take that out. I do apologize. Got the microphone on. Sorry, I was late. I was rescuing a bee. We had a bee in the house and it was close to expiring, so I think it had been locked in the house and all evening. So I was feeding it jam and then putting it back outside on the bug hotel. So I was a little bit late, and I obviously haven't done all my tech setup because I was saving a bee. Hopefully the bee's fine though, so that's all that matters. Good morning, Helen. You're watching from YouTube. That's awesome that people are starting to watch from YouTube. So the main platform has always been TikTok, but YouTube has finally started to move, and we are gaining, I think, about 200 subscribers a day, which is awesome. It used to be one or two, and suddenly, as of last weekend, it rocketed. Which I've always been told about YouTube, that you just have to keep going and going and going and going, and eventually YouTube's like, okay, we deign to allow your content to be showed. But it's taken months and months of doing work. This is actually the 52nd live broadcast doing the news. So that is 10 weeks worth. Before 10 weeks of these lives, having an editor chop it up, doing all that processing. So we're publishing maybe 10 videos a day to YouTube, and it's taken several months of doing that without any return, without any kind of movement, and then suddenly it goes 0, and then shoots up, which we were told was going to happen. But it's still very scary when you're going through the process, not knowing whether or not that's true, and whether or not you're wasting your time. So thankfully we're getting there. Found you on TikTok, but you do recommend watching on YouTube for a better setup. Yes, so it looks a lot nicer on YouTube. Plus you can see my screen, which you can't see on TikTok. But obviously my TikTok following is larger, because I think it's 150,000 on TikTok, and it's only 4,000 on YouTube, so a little smaller. Right, I'm gonna head over to OpenAI. Can't really avoid them, can we? I'm going to talk about their teen safety, freedom and privacy. I'm not sure what they call it. Is it a report, or I mean, it's a blog article primarily. So they have announced, this was yesterday, yesterday afternoon. They've had a look at their privacy policies. They've had a look at their how they're dealing with dangerous conversations and how they want to protect younger people and teenagers. And they've put out a statement, and they're starting to make some changes within ChatGPT in particular. And Sam Altman says, he literally says, I don't expect that everyone will agree with these trade-offs, but given the conflict, it is important to explain our decision making. So I'm going to quickly run through the text. I highly recommend you look at it yourself. It's on the OpenAI blog, probably the top story, and otherwise just Google Team Safety, Freedom and Privacy by Sam Altman. So he's written it himself, or with his team, but he's come ahead, and as the head, he's saying this is what we're doing moving forward. So this is, I don't think he mentions it, but it will be in reaction to the suicides, and especially of the teenager about a month or two ago, and the criticism that they probably rightfully came under for not protecting certain people. So this is obviously a very loaded issue, and it's something that Sam Altman goes ahead and he addresses. He says, look, we have a tension here. We have a tension between privacy and protection, and how on earth do we navigate through that? And he 100% acknowledges that this is a big issue, and it's not something that's easy to fix and not something that's easy to resolve. So what they've done, they've said we have a couple of principles. Our first principle is, where are they? Oh, privacy. So the first principle is privacy. The second principle is freedom. And the third principle, this is the new one, is about protecting teenagers. It doesn't say children, interestingly. He says teens specifically. Children are using this stuff, but they're not going to admit that because that's going to open up a whole can of worms. So he's saying teens. So they used to have two principles, which were freedom and privacy. They now have a third principle, which is protecting teens. We prioritize safety ahead of privacy and freedom for teens. This is a new and powerful technology, and we believe minors need significant protection. So this is the big headline here, is that in the case of teenagers, privacy and freedom are less important than their protection. So the teenagers using this service will lose freedom and they will lose privacy in order to protect them. So first, we have to separate users who are under 18 from those who aren't. And then it says ChatGPT is intended for people 13 and up. So he probably knows that people under 13 are using it, but he is disowning that. He's saying if you're under 13 and using it, you shouldn't be using it, and that's not our problem. So he's being smart there. We're building an age prediction system to estimate age based on how people use ChatGPT. If there's any doubt, we play it safe and default to the under 18 experience. In some cases or countries, we may also ask for an ID. We know this is a privacy compromise for adults, but we believe it is a worthy trade-off. So this is very similar to what we've been seeing in the UK, Australia, and a number of other countries with the protection of minors by having adults provide their ID to prove their age to access certain sites. It looks like we might be getting something similar within ChatGPT. They're going to try to do a system where it predicts, I think it's YouTube has a system like this where depending on what you watch, it will use that to predict if you are under 18. So if you're watching lots of Roblox videos and how to, or Minecraft, not Minecraft, that makes me look old, Roblox. If you're watching lots of Roblox videos, then it will probably flag your user account as somebody who is under a certain age. Whereas if you're watching mature content, it will consider you to be a more mature person. So YouTube has a version of this. I haven't seen many reports on how that's going or whether that's even left testing, but it sounds like ChatGPT are going to start with that as their first line of defense, and then they'll fall back on IDs. I imagine this will also be based on the geography. Oh, so it says in some cases or countries, we may ask for an ID. So I think in the countries where this is already being mandated for accessing adult sites, accessing, Reddit, bizarrely, they will just fall in line and require IDs. So this is why some people are going to be upset about this, because they don't want, they will see this as an intrusion. This is adults who will see this as an intrusion into their privacy. But OpenAI are basically saying we're doing this to protect the teenagers. and they are, which is a very good way to disown the responsibility as well. They do not want that legal responsibility. They do not want that blood on their hands. So I can see why they're doing this. I can also see why lots of people will not like it. But so can Sam Altman. He's saying up front, some of you aren't going to like this, but we need to go through all of this. So we realize that these principles are in conflict and not everyone will agree with how we're resolving that conflict. These are difficult decisions, but after talking with experts, this is what we think is best and want to be transparent in our intentions. I applaud that. They know it's a complicated subject. They know it's not an easy one to fix, and they're saying, hey, we're doing our best here. We're doing what we can. You're not all going to like it. Sorry. There is no solution which everybody is going to be absolutely 100% okay with. So we're just having to make this decision. So what I did find interesting was the reaction. As you can imagine, some people are a bit upset about it. I thought this was an interesting one by a guy called Andrew. He says, Sam Altman, no one gave you the authority to decide what is safe, appropriate and freeing for our teen-aged children. We, the parents, have the authority. And though we think your AI experiments are interesting and may have limited usefulness, we will not allow you to decide what's best for our teens. Okay, so this dude seems to decide he is going to be the spokesperson for all the parents, but that's another matter. But I think this about no one gave you the authority to, I mean, we kind of did by using ChatGPT. There are 700 million users of ChatGPT. That is 10% of the world's population. And it's us as consumers, us as human beings who have decided to use ChatGPT. We didn't have to. We don't have to. So we kind of did give him the authority to make these decisions, whether you like it or not. So I understand what he's saying is that we shouldn't be putting all this power into the hands of kind of these billionaires, these tech billionaires, but we have. And now at least Sam Altman is acknowledging that there's a problem. He's acknowledging that it's not an easy one to fix, and that he's putting forward a solution and saying, hey, you're not all going to like this, but this is what we've decided. And again, if you're not happy with that, don't use ChatGPT. Simple. It's a product. You don't have to use it if you don't want to use it. So I disagree with Andrew here, and I think that Sam Altman is in a difficult position, and I think he's put forward probably the best response he can. And I'm sure they've thought about this long and hard over the last few weeks. So I applaud it, but I'm sure there are going to be people who are furious about their liberties being taken away. I'm going to hop over to my TikTok chat, which now hopefully doesn't have a racist in it. Oh, Nat. Hey, Nat. Great face consistency. What model? It must be confusing when I get a haircut. Privacy, security, convenience, paradigm, that's always been an issue. Yep, 100%. What do you think of the news of there being a huge investment in the UK AI? Simon says. So I just covered this just before. I'm talking about OpenAI. I think it's good. I think that it at least gives the UK a seat at the table. Of course, it's all US money. Of course, it's going to have strings attached. And I'm sure that digital services tax is going to be pushed on, if not repealed or made defunct in some way over the next couple of years. But I think that the UK was otherwise not in contention at all. We still probably are not. It's still America and China, and that's kind of it. But at least this gives us a little bit of breathing room. This is like we're drowning and somebody's given us their emergency oxygen, and maybe we'll be able to make it to the surface. Maybe we'll be able to make something of it. Whereas before this $40 billion transfusion, we were just not in contention at all. And the UK government was making a lot of noise about artificial intelligence, but if you cannot back it up with billions of dollars, not millions, but billions of dollars, all of those words were empty. But now at least there's cash. It is mainly Microsoft cash though. So 30 billion of the 40 billion is Microsoft, 5 billion is Google, and then there's a couple of extra billion from OpenAI, Nvidia, etc. I love it. It's like just a few billion. I mean, these companies are now working in the trillions. So Google became a 3 trillion company the other day, I think on Monday. So there are 4 companies worth over $3 trillion. Nvidia is worth over $4 trillion. So they have shot to the next level. Yeah, and I think the UK has not been in contention for a while economically, and certainly not in artificial intelligence. So it's good to see maybe some glimpse of being able to be part of this, what's happening with AI, with American money, obviously. Is there a way for the average Joe to capitalize on this? Yeah. Well, I'm biased, but I go and give AI workshops to businesses. So there's a lot of businesses, pretty much every business out there needs to work out how to deal with artificial intelligence. It's a discussion every single company on earth is happening right now, and they pay well for you to go and help them with that. So what you can do is you combine your existing industry experience. So if you've worked in the education industry, in the manufacturing industry, in the digital marketing industry, you combine that knowledge with your knowledge of artificial intelligence, and you become a bridge, a translator between the new world of artificial intelligence and the old world of that industry. And you go in and you show them specifically how they can use AI, how they should think about AI, what they should be doing with it, what they shouldn't be doing with it. And you can make good money doing that. So I charge, my normal rate is $2,000 for 1 hour, a 1 hour workshop. The most I've charged is $4,000 for 1 hour. And you can do multiple hours. And then off the back of that, you can also do advisory, consultation, implementation work, etc. So the opportunity is becoming that translation point, that bridge between your industry, because you speak the language, you know the stories, you know the metaphors, you know the kind of examples and use cases that are relevant in your industry, and the world of artificial intelligence. So if you can lock down that and become that intermediary, become that guide, then there's a lot of money that can be made. I'm actually putting together a longer form YouTube video about it. It'll be a 15 to 20 minute guide, which I'm aiming to get out probably this weekend or the next weekend. And I'm also building a tool which will help people do that as well. So that's a really good way to capitalize right now, is becoming known and helping people in your particular industry, because right now it's fairly open. There isn't like the guy for AI in manufacturing. People are talking about AI generally, but if you niche down and you help a particular industry, the industry that you know, you can do really, really well. So that would be my suggestion. You can also build. So my next live stream is a vibe coding stream where I'm on day 13 of putting together an application. So I'm going from an idea to launch to revenue within 30 days. We're nearly halfway through. I'm doing 1 hour a day, kind of showing that this is something that people can do, something that people can build. And that's a nice way to, again, leverage your existing industry experience. So if you work in a particular niche, you know exactly what it is that niche and that industry needs, so you can build it using artificial intelligence now, whereas previously you'd have to hire coders or find a CTO and raise money to get it done. Now we can build really, really easily. So that's another very big opportunity right now. Vibe coding is a bit of a hypey word, but the value of vibe coding is being able to build tools that people can use and monetize them very quickly. See you, Nick. Thank you for dropping in. Hey, Aurora, how are you doing? Hey, Elijah. Sebastian says, have you launched the lead gen app? No, not yet. So I started adding more stuff to it. I promised that I would not, but I'm adding a whole ability to generate a landing page inside the application. So it is getting more complex, which I promised I wouldn't do, but I really want to. So I'm aiming still to launch it in the next week or so for the beta test. And then I've got 30 days. That's my deadline to actually launch it and make money with it. And then next month, where are we now? September. Next month, October, I'll build something new. And I'm going to keep building and stacking different applications. That live will start after this live, so it depends when this live finishes. This live will finish in 15-20 minutes. I'll grab some water and then hop on to the next one. Actually, I've only got one more story, so this will probably be another 10 minutes, and then I'll hop over to that one. Also, you can find all of the past Building Public Lives on the YouTube channel. They're in a playlist, so you can see day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. It's quite a lot because every single day is 1 hour, but it's me walking through the process of how you build an application from scratch and talking about the process as we go along. So it's not just me staring at a screen, which would be a bit boring. It's also chatting about, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Here are some limitations. This is how we work around those limitations. Okay, now this is what we're going to do, etc. Which means I'm less productive than if I just focused, but I think it's more useful because people can see the process, if that makes sense. So that's all available in a YouTube playlist. Right, I'm going to hop over to Fiverr. So you probably know Fiverr. Fiverr is a, what would you call it? It's like a platform for hiring contractors and freelancers to do generally small jobs. So let's say you wanted somebody to write some social media posts for you. You could hire them for well, it used to be $5. It's gone up generally. So you'd hire them for a low amount of money. They'd go off and do the work, and that kind of frees up your time, and it allows somebody elsewhere to get paid for it. Pretty cool. That's been open for years. However, a lot of the tasks that are done on Fiverr are quite low-level things. They are things like creating social media posts, for example. They tend not to be big, larger project-based tasks. Generally, you'd use Upwork for something like that. So let's say you want a new e-commerce site made. You could go to Upwork and hire a developer or a team of developers, and they would get that done for you. Fiverr tends to be kind of down the lower end of the market. They've tried to change that because they realized there's more money to be made in the larger contracts, but as a whole, Fiverr is that low level. That low level of, hey, I need you to write some copy for my sales page, or I need you to make a lead magnet, or I need you to make some kind of Canva social media posts, etc. That level is being eaten alive by artificial intelligence. So over the last couple of years, Fiverr gigs and the money that freelancers made on Fiverr has just fallen off a cliff. We've had data on that for the last couple of years. I don't have it on me here, but have a look at it, and it's been horrendous. The bigger thing is that as this has happened, Fiverr's share price has plummeted. So Fiverr, I think it's fallen 40%. Let's put it up. This is the most public. Okay, well, it's up 1% today. So let's look at the last year. Over the last year, it's fallen 6.6. Over the last 5 years, it's fallen 81%. So here we go. So the high was in 2021. It was $323 a share, and it had a slow downward trajectory in 2021, and then here we go. November the 12th, 2021, it kind of falls off a cliff. Oh, sorry, no, it's January. So this is artificial intelligence starting to kick in at this level. So the last couple of years, their share price has just basically dropped to very little. It's now $23 a share, roughly. Yeah, $23. So it's dropped 80+% in the last couple of years with the advent of AI. So their CEO, he said, we're going back to startup mode. This is a big update I shared with the team. We're turning Fiverr into an AI-first company that's leaner and simpler, dreams bigger, and builds faster. Long and short of it, he's reducing the workforce. I think he's cutting 30% of the workforce within Fiverr. So this is not the freelancers, but the actual Fiverr company itself, cutting about 30% of the workforce and becoming an AI-first company. So this is, well, he's couching it in terms of he's couching it in terms of optimization rather than in terms of survival. But let's have a look. For months, I've been sharing my thoughts on how AI is reshaping not only work, but the increasingly immersive way humans and machines interact. This will lead to fundamental changes in how societal activities are organized and how businesses operate. The speed at which technology is changing and the possibilities it brings are incredible, and they demand new thinking and higher velocity to stay at the top of our game. Remember, this is after 3 years of taking an absolute beating from artificial intelligence, so it's taken a little while for this to sink in. 80% down in share prices. So we're already one of the companies to embrace AI across everything we do and reaping the benefits of what small productive AI teams can deliver. Neo, Fiverr Go, dynamic matching, and how we code, market, and provide customer care are all great examples of this. We need to accelerate this mode of work. We can and should dream bigger and build faster, using this moment to build on what's next for Fiverr on a modern, clean, AI-focused infrastructure from the ground up. Our infrastructure was built over the course of many years, and it's not about just adding more people to build on top of it. It's about simplifying it. This is a different skill and a different mindset. It requires going back to startup mode. Fewer people, more productivity. So it goes on and on and on in this vein about how exciting artificial intelligence is and how it's going to take Fiverr into the next stage of its development. God, it does go on a lot. But the long and short of it is AI has trounced them for years, has demolished their demand because their customers can now go to AI and get the work done instead of hiring somebody through Fiverr. So that's demolished their business model. So they're down 80%. In their stock price from their high in 2021. So AI is the big reason for this. But he's saying, oh no, this is 3 years later. Oh, AI is really exciting. What we're going to do is we're going to be AI first. This is an example of a CEO using AI as an excuse to cover their butts. We're seeing this again and again and again, where companies are laying off staff members left and right and saying, oh, it's because of our AI efficiencies. But they haven't yet got those AI efficiencies in place. They fire first with the expectation, the hope, the dream, what did he call it? The hope and the dreams, that they'll be able to use AI to fill those gaps. It hasn't worked. We saw at Klarna, it did not work. In Klarna, they were doing financially not very well, but they were pushing for an IPO, again, to kind of try and cover their asses. So if they went public, they'd get an influx of cash and they'd be able to remedy some problems that they had with the business. So they fired a whole bunch of staff to reduce their costs so they can go to the IPO and they can be more attractive to the investors. But the reason they said for firing all of those staff was, oh, we're going AI first. We're going to replace them all with AI. A year or so later, they're like, no, it didn't work. And they rehired all the people. So you have to get these AI productivity boosts in place first. You cannot just fire everybody and then say, yeah, we're replacing them with AI. You have to do, it's putting the cart before the horse. Anyway, they have fired or laying off 250 employees, which is about 30% of their workforce. And they are, I mean, some people are saying, here we go, your daily reminder that layoffs are just getting started. He said the company evaluated what AI could do and reached a clear conclusion. As we evaluate what has been done and what can be done, we believe we don't need as many people to operate the existing business. We'll see. I don't think this is going to end very well for Fiverr. I think already they were in the hole because their actual product, which is providing lower level services, has been demolished by AI. So becoming more lean in your operations doesn't really matter if your product is no longer needed by the market. So I think this will slow down their demise, but they're not going to be around for very long. But what do I know? I'm sure they have some plans. We'll see, but I don't have any hopes. Again, not investment advice. Not that, I mean, you might want to short them, but I'm not going to suggest that. Awesome. I am going to finish up this live and hop over to the other live in a minute. Just checking questions. Oh, thank you, Aurora, for the roses. I forget about all of those on TikTok. You can find all of these videos over on YouTube. We edit them, we make them more accessible, and there's also a newsletter which comes out every single day, which has a written summary of what was covered the day before, links to the videos, additional resources, etc., etc. It's all free. So YouTube, you you're going to search for my username. I am Kyle Barmer in YouTube, and it should pop up immediately, I hope. And for the newsletter, you're going to check the link in my bio. Totally free to sign up, and I'll send that to you with the daily news updates. I'm going to now hop over to my other stream. It's going to be here. So wherever you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on TikTok, there should be a new stream up in a few minutes where I'm going to be continuing to build an application in public. Just give me 5 minutes or so to get some more water, and then I'll hop back on that live stream. Thank you again, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow morning around 10 a.m. with the whatever the new news is. We should have some news about this Keir Starmer Trump AI deal, maybe. So I'll cover that tomorrow and see if there's anything to it, and see if it requires removing the digital services tax, which I think it might. And I'll also have the live stream as well. But make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed in the newsletter, and I will see you shortly on the second stream. If not, I'll see you tomorrow or over on YouTube. Thank you, guys.